Grace and peace. I'm Bishop Jim Dunlop, and I just thought I would come with an Advent message. The seasons are changing. I know this because my neighbor took down their Halloween decorations and put up their Christmas decorations. And I suspect on December 26th, the Christmas decorations will come down and Valentine's Day decorations will go up. When I was on sabbatical, I read a number of books by Andrew Root, who's a professor at Luther Seminary, who's written on ministry and the church in this secular age. He interestingly talks about how in the early Western culture, time and the clock and the calendar were all controlled and centered by the church, the hours of prayer and the liturgical calendar. But that's certainly no longer true. He sees time in our secular society as controlled by Silicon Valley and our devices. I see the calendar controlled by the Hallmark card seasons. It seems like we're always in a rush to the next season, the next event, the next task, and we're measured by our productivity and how much we get done. Bigger, better, faster is the measure of success in our society. Perhaps this is why Advent is an important time in the church year. Although it gets little attention, even in the lives of people in the church, it's a season of waiting and patience, and most importantly, hope. Dietrich Bonhoeffer put it this way in a Christmas sermon he delivered in December of 1928. The celebration of Advent is possible only to those who are troubled in soul, who know themselves to be poor and imperfect, and who look forward to something greater to come. For these, it is enough to wait in humble fear until the Holy One himself comes down to us. God in the child in the manger. God comes. The Lord Jesus comes. Christmas comes. Christians rejoice. A celebration of Advent is for the troubled soul. How is your soul in this time in the world? Inflation is making all of us poorer. Homelessness is becoming a significant problem in our society. There's not a place in this country where you can work a full-time minimum wage job and afford to rent a 2-bedroom apartment. Not one county in the entire country. And we continue to see people dying every day from COVID, although many of us have felt like we've moved on from that experience, choosing not to worry. And we have political divisions in this country that we have not seen the likes of in the last 150 years. Wars and climate change have forced an unprecedented number of refugees around the world. These are challenging times for the church as well. The church is not the center of society as it once was, and the majority of people in this country do not have a faith community for the first time in the history of this country. Meaning if you go to church, you're in the minority in this country. Many of the churches are struggling to keep up with finances and membership. And the people in the churches, the membership tends to be much older than the population. Advent is a time, as Bonhoeffer said, to look forward to something greater to come, to look for hope. Where do you see hope? I see it in young people that are organizing themselves to deal with the issues of climate change, and the creation care teams in our synod, in our churches that are working to deal with climate change. I see it in our congregations that have chosen to help resettle refugees into their community. I see it in a blanket project to raise awareness for homelessness. This started last year as a partnership in our synod and the Charles Bruce Foundation in Carlisle, and has now become a national event. And on December 21st, we'll spread blankets across the lawn of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., partnering with synods and the ELCA from around the country. The ELCA, when it met in assembly, adopted overwhelmingly a memorial from this synod to spend the next 3 years looking at ways to renew the structure of the ELCA to better proclaim the gospel in this time and place. Advent is a time for hope. Bonhoeffer said in the 20s, as fascism was on the rise, that Advent is a time to wait in humble fear until the Holy One himself comes down to us. God in a child in a manger. God comes. Please, in this Advent season, take the time. Look for signs of hope. Christ will come to meet us in God's time. Don't rush the seasons, but sit in hope. On behalf of the Synod staff, I wish you a patient, thoughtful, and hopeful Advent, and then a blessed Christmas.